We'll be back from that particular break. Business Today continues with the Coffee Court discussions. Now, in our Coffee Court tonight, we look at the Common Market for East and Central Africa, COMESA. When you look at the situation, COMESA was established in early 1994, and it's shown to be one of the largest trade and investment regions for African nations. However, on the Coffee Court, we want to realize how the operation and contribution of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, what impact does it have to the East African Community Bloc and also to the other member countries within the organization. Let's have more in our Coffee Court tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us on this Coffee Court where we digest matters of national importance. This time around we digest matters of the Commonwealth for East and Southern Africa, locally known as COMESA. I speak to the board member, Private Sector Foundation, who is also a member that sits on the Committee of Common Market and East and Southern Africa. That is none other than Mr. Issa Sechito. Mr. Issa Sechito, it's a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you also for making me have a chance to talk about COMESA issues. The Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa Business Council is a good platform which provides ingredients to the entire Common Market Executive. When you go to Arusha, when you go to Lusaka in Zambia, is when you can know the strength of COMESA, Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. A full-fledged commercial house, very big area, and a premise that encompasses all. I have not seen a site or a structure as big as the one that is owned by COMESA in Lusaka. So it is a pleasure being a director there. The only challenge is that our service as a director for Uganda on the COMESA Business Council came at a time when COVID was hitting and they were elected amidst the COVID pandemic. So traveling is hard, holding meetings pure on Zoom. So you find that the experiences that we should have shared are not fully exploited.
So have you filled up this space?
The space for
the chairperson?
No, we were getting the executive director after the resignation of the lady from Kigali, Rwanda, who was the executive director, head of management for the COMESA Business Council. And she went abruptly after serving for 15 years. She was a very, very well marketed person, a woman of integrity, and who had done the justice that she was required to have done for the COMESA in resource mobilization, in negotiations, and arrangement of the entire management of the COMESA board. So we advertised. We chose a team of headed by the chairman of the COMESA and some few directors, and they formed a team that was to conduct the interview, which was successfully done, and we ended up choosing somebody called Teddy Yagambaraham Skobramimain. These names are very complicated. They have, some of them bear French names, as the new executive director. A process we have completed in September. Is now the Chief Executive Officer. Very well experienced from the CV that we gotten, an expert in international trade negotiations and business development, as well as organizational management expert.
Okay.
So the process was not very easy because many people, over 35, participated.
Why couldn't you stand?
I didn't stand because one, the academic qualifications are not for just saying that you have a simple degree or diploma. We wanted experience, more experience than the one I have. And two, as a member of the board, I wasn't eligible.
Okay.
That's why I came back to Kampala and told a number of people to try their luck. I hear there are some Ugandans, I have not yet known who had applied, but there are some 3 Ugandans who had also slotted in their requests to be the executive directors. I need to make a closure follow-up and know who they were and how they performed.
Let's now widen the discussion to
Yes.
COMESA. Talk to us about countries that make up the common market
Yes.
for Eastern Southern Africa.
Yeah, all the as you hear, the common market for Eastern and Southern Africa, all the member states of the East African community, SADC, talk about to all countries like Egypt, talk about countries that where they are, all the member countries of the Southern, Eastern, and Central Africa, majority of them belong to COMESA. And the headquarters is so strategic in the center, being in Lusaka, Zambia. The participation of Egypt, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, South Africa, talk about all these countries, Eritrea, right? All these countries are endowed, and therefore it makes it a very vibrant kind of arrangement, especially as we are aiming to go to the Africa Free Trade Area arrangement. Besides negotiating as East Africans today, we are now bargaining and negotiating as COMESA, a bigger bloc, negotiating for fairer treatment in the Africa Free Trade arrangement that is being planned.
So how different is the two?
Yes.
COMESA and then African continental?
Yeah, the Africa continent, of course, targets the entire Africa. And COMESA is only for Eastern and Southern Africa. So the size of population, the size of business activities, when you talk about Africa Free Trade Area, you are talking about all the West Africans, the Northern Africans, the South Africans, and the entire Africa as it is in business sense. So it's a bigger arrangement, but it is very timely and good if you negotiate as a bloc to make the rules of origin, the customs procedure, the domestic taxes, and all other arrangements. If you negotiate as a bloc, yeah, you get much more than negotiating as a country or a small bloc called the East African Community.
But
and you know, the experience that I have seen in COMESA, the few meetings that we have held, there are many challenges, regional disagreements that have been resolved in COMESA than in East Africa.
Maybe before we get there,
Yes.
since primal I've been studying about COMESA, is it something that has remained on paper, or it is something when it comes to performance? It's
Yeah,
worth it?
I think when
I've
you
only
are,
had it on paper.
you know, when you are in Uganda, you might think that COMESA is on paper, but if you travel, you will see how many disputes had emerged and have been resolved, how much plan they have for the health department, how much they are planning for the infrastructure across the COMESA region, how they are resolving conflicts. In fact, I was telling you that they are even resolving more conflicts in COMESA than we are resolving in the East African community.
If I don't feel it home, how would I feel it from elsewhere?
Yeah, that is, it is at times a weakness of Uganda because we are paid up members as the private sector, the one I represent on behalf of Uganda. But you see, the directorship of Uganda, the COMESA, is not so much felt. I don't know whether government takes it for granted, take a position of the CEO. It did not cause much excitement. Yet when I came back from the board, I went to the permanent secretary, Minister of Foreign Affairs. I revealed whatever is going on, and I was trying to convince the government, especially the Foreign Affairs Permanent Secretary, to advertise massively so that Ugandans would also take up the matter. There is something that I observed, and I still observe while we are in COMESA there. When people stand up to speak, they don't want to mention their names. And I mean, they don't want to mention their source countries.
Why?
I told them, because you want to deny us advantages, that's why when you stand, you don't mention. You will see that almost all the 11 to 12 people that are at the Secretariat come either from Kenya, Zambia, and Rwanda. Uganda, and also Egypt. But Uganda, when it comes to the employment opportunities that are there in the COMESA, you find them so mean.
So you're saying that we've been denied opportunity?
No.
Employment?
We are denying ourselves proper and pure participation. The people that represent Uganda and COMESA do not want to come back and tell us what is happening there.
Okay.
The ones that would do is like, I am a director, we need resources. Government has the resources to advertise. Government has the resources to tell us details about what is going on. For example, there are even grants that do happen there for capacity building among us, the COMESA member states. They end up in Missouri, that's Egypt. They end up in Nairobi. They end up in Lusaka. For, equity goes to the vigilant. If you are lying and you are not vigilant, you will lose out. COMESA is operational, COMESA is active, things that are happening there. I told you they have one of the biggest facilities in Lusaka, Zambia. Their owned building, it is a property owned by COMESA. It's not rented. So all the resources that come out of it through renting, in fact, they are the ones also who pay homage to the COMESA Business Council.
So how does your people benefit? We have the Kasita community,
yes,
the manufacturers, the small scale. Yes. So how do they tap into some of these opportunities?
One, it's they might not be benefiting directly, but when policies are made, all right, and they are fit.
Do they eat policy? They don't.
You can't eat policy, but if policy is good, it will allow you to eat. Because what you will do, will have a bigger market. What you will do, will have resolutions for conflicts that emerge resolved. If there is anything that you need to know in travel arrangements, how do you access another country without lots and lots of non-tariff barriers? So if they remove the non-tariff barriers or at least reduce them, when there are good policies for intra-trade, meaning that all COMESA countries can accept services and the goods from COMESA countries, the members benefit. You need to be told what is available, then you take your goods or services, and the only way you can benefit.
But the things you're talking about still prevail. Talk about the Tujite Miziziko,
Yes.
the trade barriers still
Yes.
do exist.
Yes.
And the things you're mentioning.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, it is one thing to have 1, 2, 3 barriers. It is a different one to have them at 10. So if there were 10 non-tariff barriers, you might not note very well that 4 were removed and they are now 6. So it is a process. What is happening now, the COMESA people were here recently and they were fast tracking for the health network. COMESA wants to have a solution in case scourges or epidemics like a COVID happen again. You remember how the countries suffered because they had no joint effort to fight such scourges or
Everybody was on it. Was on their own.
so they are trying to build up a health system that would mind about the people of COMESA countries, and this is headquartered now in Egypt.
So if you are to rate, to what
Yes.
extent have we performed?
As the COMESA,
Yes.
it is still lower than 50% or 45% performance, and this is still meager percentage it is, but it all depends on the countries and the aggressiveness that we desire. It is not enough to just subscribe to COMESA as Uganda and then we end there. We also need to follow up on all the protocols, on all the projects that happened, which are sponsored, and those that are other countries that are aggressive will benefit. Those that are reluctant, yet they paid their money, other countries will take advantage of it. So it is better that where we go into protocols, the government of Uganda does not end at subscriptions, but also get competent people to be telling us what advantages there is in this region.
And what's competence to you? What's competence?
No, competence, first of all, is to know what is happening and translate it into opportunities. If there are 10 people or 12 employed at COMESA Business Council as workers, how many are Ugandans? Who is supposed to lobby for them, right? If there are projects that are adding capacity or doing capacity building, sponsored by the World Bank and other organizations like IMF, how many do reach Kampala, Uganda? Do they end in Lusaka? Do they end in Egypt? Do they end in South Africa? And why? It is upon the country and its representatives to see that all these resources that go to the COMESA Secretariat also find a way to Ugandans. This is the better way we can do it, but there is a lot of reluctance. When I joined, there is a new chapter I opened there. In the Business Council today, you cannot stand up to speak and you don't mention your country of origin. I saw that some were getting ashamed.
Talking about their countries.
Yes, I'm Issa Sechito from Kampala, Uganda. Somebody will say, I'm Isabella so and keep quiet. My observation was, there are many people from Rwanda, many people from Egypt, many people from Nairobi.
How is that important, mentioning a country?
Because they will know whether they are fair or representation of the cake is fair enough.
So for us, we have one representative.
Yeah, we have one representative, and this is the COMESA Business Council, but there is the COMESA Hub, the bigger one. This is a part of the COMESA arrangement. There is COMESA, the Business Council, where I'm a director. There is COMESA, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. I don't recall well who is our representative there, but we have one. But when you are also a journalist and you are now asking me who he is, meaning...
No, because you're a member there.
Yeah, I am a member of the Business Council, but I'm not a member of the COMESA entire arrangement.
Anything to recommend as we plan to part ways?
You know, one, when we go into regional blocks, there are advantages that we aim at. I would urge the government of Uganda through the Foreign Affairs and any other relevant authorities to follow up to the letter about what are the developments there. Are there any opportunities that we can reap? 2, are there any sponsored projects? Because I got a list of the projects that were being sponsored by IMF and World Bank, Cartas of Comesa, and I didn't see even one coming to Uganda. Yet other countries are benefiting. 3, it is very important to go into a protocol well knowing that what matters most are the tradable goods and services that move around. What is it that Uganda has a comparative advantage into, so that it is what we put on table, and we get what others have, and then to be now a fair deal. Because what matters in all these protocols is the population. Everybody targets, if they are goods, they should be sold to as big a population as it requires. If it is services, all the same. So if as long as that one is not achieved, then MN protocol will not be important.
Mr. Issa, thank you for sparing time and speaking to us. Of course, many of you know him as the spokesperson of the Kampala City Traders Association. He's also a board member of the Private Sector Foundation, but most importantly for today's engagement, he's a director when it comes to Common Market for East and Southern Africa. This is the Coffee Court. My name is Fred Makubuya.
And that's how the Monday has gone, surely, with more from our Business Today edition, where we bring you the daily report of business reports that are making headlines across the country and across the East African Community region. I'm Jerome Paul Sunko with Winnie Weens and Akochi on Sign Language. We've been coming to you live from Plot 42 Nile Avenue. Have a blessed night. Good evening.